you see Nancy Pelosi did a big fundraiser? None of the people who were at her fundraiser were wearing masks. Only masked people were the wait staff. All of the people at the fundraiser were white liberals, and then all of the masked staff were minorities. This is just emblematic of the insane mask wars. There was a study that came out that said blue surgical masks, the ones that are so popular everywhere, provide almost no protection at all from COVID. At best, 10% reduction, which means 90% of all COVID germs are still out there, and that's if you're wearing them correctly. There is virtually no benefit whatsoever to wearing masks, and on kids, it matters even less. I would encourage you to go listen to the Clay and Buck show. We just had a great discussion about this, and I'm going to make sure I get the guy's name right. David Zweig. He wrote an article in New York Magazine, "The Science of Masking Kids at School Remains Uncertain," and he went through all of the data, and it is pretty fantastic. And look, there was a 90,000 kid study in Georgia, 90,000 kids, comparing the efficacy and usefulness of masks as it pertains to COVID versus not wearing masks at all, and they found no difference, okay? So everybody out there that is screaming about how kids need to be in masks, first of all, I think every parent deserves the right to make their own decision, okay? I think that's important. But the data doesn't exist which proves in any way that kids in masks are safer. It just doesn't exist. And what Zweig told us, the author of this article, is what he has found is the same thing as what I have found. So many doctors agree that it makes no sense whatsoever, but they are terrified of being targeted by others in their profession, so they don't want to speak out and acknowledge that the science to support kids wearing masks is simply not there, okay? It's a big deal, all right? The Democrats like to claim that they're the party of science, but whenever they get pressed on whether masks work in schools or not, they just fall back on saying, well, of course they work. They're masked. That isn't actually a scientific argument. There is no data, not one iota of data that says masks work. In fact, the data actually suggests the opposite, that masks do not work. This, again, is massively significant, even though it is mostly being ignored and not receiving very much attention. It is absolutely ridiculous that any kids are having to wear masks this year. It is, by the way, never going to end. Years still of kids being forced to wear masks with no benefit. Remember, initially we were told 15 days to stop the spread. Even back in May, we were told that nobody who got vaccinated needed to wear a mask. 73% of adults in America, I believe is the latest number, have now been vaccinated. Over 90% of people 65 and over. If all of that is true, why in the world are masks still being worn? They provide no help at all. The data is clear for kids and virtually no help at all for adults. Facts matter. Use them.